Irv.
The other computer was on.
This reading comes from Matthew, but it also is recorded in Mark and Luke in two other of the gospel accounts. Now, Jesus has done some contacts with people, and he's offered them parables. And you and I suspect, find it really easy to get insight from the parables because they are relatively simple. They speak with one point, and that point is clearly identified. And now the disciples are talking with Jesus, and they're asking him this question. Then the disciples came to Jesus and asked him, "Why do you use parables when you talk to them? The knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you," Jesus answered, "but not to them. For the man who has something will be given more, so that he will have more than enough. But the man who has nothing will have taken away from him even that little he has. This is the reason that I use parables to talk to them. It is because they look but do not see, they listen but do not hear or understand." So the prophecy of Isaiah came true in this case. Isaiah says, "You will listen and listen but not understand. You will look and look but not see, because this people's mind is dull. They have stopped up their ears, they have closed their eyes. Otherwise their eyes might see, their ears might hear, their minds might understand, and they might turn to me," says God, "and I would heal them." As for you, how fortunate you are," speaking to the disciples, "your eyes see and your ears hear. Remember this, many prophets and many of God's people wanted very much to see what you see, but they could not, and to hear what you hear, but they did not." Well, it doesn't take much if we're willing to recognize it, either by our sight or by our ears, that conflicts develop all over the place. There are conflicts in marriage, there are conflicts between neighbors, there are conflicts in the church, there are conflicts within the community, and many, many more settings indeed. And they often grow into significant discord among people and among couples, and sometimes turn into violent behavior. Civil war, religious hatred, political division often poisons our relationship and damages what is our fragile national unity. The signed agreement between the warring parties in the Middle East, with the prospects of the end of the war in Gaza, underscores the role of peacemakers, and we are indeed grateful for their tireless work and how fragile the relationships we have come to discover between nations and between leaders of nations are on a macro and international basis. The United Methodist Church, for a significant number of years, has designated this Sunday as Human Relations Sunday. The Sunday is intended to help us honestly consider our human condition and to name it. Is it greed? Is it power? Is it bigotry? Is it self-centeredness? Is it fear? Is it shame? Is it bitterness? What is that which causes us to be so separated from one another? The founder of the Menninger Foundation a number of years ago said something startling as he thought about the contribution of people that leads oftentimes to suffering, which then leads oftentimes to struggles and depression and other forms of mental decay. And he said, perhaps we have forgotten sin. Sin. Coming from a mental health professional, indeed a fascinating comment. That which separates us from one another, that which erects barriers between us and other people, that which contributes to our discounting of the worth and the value and the dignity of the other, is guaranteed to do harm to all of us who are involved. The Human Relations Sunday offers us yet another opportunity to examine that which keeps us engaged in discord and to explore the alternatives. The motto of the United Methodist Church, which you've seen on our sign on occasion, is open hearts, open minds, and open doors. The message is clearly that if our hearts are warmed, then the chances that our minds will be open to a variety of possibilities, both in terms of our understanding of Scripture, but also in terms of understanding how we can relate to people in our own homes, in our neighborhoods, in our community, and worldwide. I sometimes have wondered whether it should be open minds, and those open minds then open their hearts. But I think the order is accurate. If our hearts are warmed, that is to say, if our spirits have the gentle and kind and compassionate and inclusive care for others, then indeed it's likely our minds will then be open to options and alternatives and new ways for us to relate to one another. And as far as the church is concerned, we say to people out in the community, come. All of you come. Everyone who comes is welcome. Everyone who comes will be embraced as worthy and valuable. Our doors are open. Come. Share your questions, share your doubts, share your journey of struggling, both to understand who God is and how Jesus might impact your life. And together we will learn, and together we will discover, and then indeed together we might serve the community in which we live. The words of Isaiah chapter 35, verse 5, when describing the work of the promised Messiah, says this: when he comes, he will open the eyes of the blind and unplug the ears of the deaf. And again in chapter 42:7, Isaiah again says, you will open the eyes that cannot see, you will set prisoners free. Now, if you will allow yourself the ability to see these words both as a parable as well as a metaphor, it indeed is that we open our eyes in terms of seeing gently, compassionately, the world in which we live. We open our ears to the sounds that tell us that there is suffering, that there is pain, as well as joy. I want to ask you to extend yourself even a bit more by thinking about it in yet another way. Listen to these words. As we call ourselves healers of a broken people and of a broken world, as we recognize we have been called to build God's kingdom here in our homes, in our neighborhoods, in our community, in our church, and as broadly as we can. Think about it. To hear with our eyes, to hear with our eyes, and to see with our ears. Then might we model an open heart and an open mind so that the door of relationship can be open constantly to everyone who has need and is lonely and who longs for companionship. To hear with our eyes is to witness the loneliness and to hear the pain and to hear the suffering and to hear the cry of another. So hear with your eyes, and to see through our ears is to imagine the oppressed, to imagine the lost, the suffering, the lonely, and that one who wants someone to notice who they are and to validate them. Indeed, we are called to minister. I was invited, I told someone recently, to do a baptism. And it was the first, and perhaps will only be, although it might happen again, the only time I was asked to do this. It was a young woman who worked in our office at the Human Service Center who had had a miscarriage. Two twins, a boy and a girl, both were prematurely aborted. She was in the hospital. I went to visit her as a friend, and she said to me, "I know that you're a minister. Will you baptize my babies?" And I said, without hesitation, yes. I could see a gentleness come over her face, a sense of ease, a sense of awareness that someone actually cared enough for her that they would do something that was so remarkably unusual and different for that person and for me. I went to the morgue the next day, and I engaged in the process of touching with a prayer of blessing and baptizing this little boy and this little girl. Gave them out loud their names. And while this may seem a bit bizarre, I also spoke to them gently and told them how sad their mother was that they had not been born into life. How sad she was that she couldn't hold them and nurture them. And how pleased she was that I was willing to come and be with them and baptize them. This is not about me. This is about the way in which one hears with their eyes and sees with their ears the need of another person and responds, however difficult it may be, however unusual it might be, however different it might be in our life's experience. Human Relations Day calls on us to think about the ways in which we are called to care for others and find a way to bring the balm of the good news of Jesus to all experiences that we encounter. The little boy who's next door, who seems lost, paying attention without any abuse and without any discard of his value and worth. A little girl who's struggling as a result of the pain and suffering she feels when a mother has died, to be there for that child. And find that it's all right for the child to play games with her friends literally moments after the funeral service. It is when we see that a neighbor is struggling and we offer our presence and a dinner and a fellowship in sharing and shoveling the sidewalk or helping them with their lawn. There are so many ways that we can improve the way in which we live, and I'm convinced that more and more and more of us who do it, the world might indeed, I know this sounds strange, but the world might be God's kingdom on earth. Someone said to me recently, I've lost faith in humans. I said, then demonstrate how much you love humans. Show humans whose faith you believe you have lost, that indeed you have faith in them. May we as a church, may we as people, may we in our relationships find joy